Earlier this week, Google released some updates to Google Classroom based on feedback from teachers. Make sure if you have any feedback about Google Classroom, you click the feedback button in the bottom right. They're going to be constantly looking at ways to update it. And since this has only been out for everybody since the beginning of August, there have been some good changes already. And I'm very hopeful for what will still come. Calendar integration would be a lovely thing down the road. One big change is that you can invite students more easily to groups. So when you're adding students, you can select that. So I'm going to go into my classroom here. I can go into students, and when I can invite, now I have an option for groups. So I can go in my contact file, but if I've already created a Google group with my students, I can easily import them using that. So that's a nice little update. Another option is that students can mark assignments as done. So with looking at that is that sometimes you may create an assignment, but there's nothing for the student to actually turn in. So I'm going to go into where I am actually a student in a class. Let's say this was the assignment, but it was just something we did in class, and I just want to get it out of my thing so I can't see it. I can just say mark is done. And so now I can mark things as being done instead of, having to submit some blank file. So sometimes you're going to assign things in class. You can also put that in your Google Classroom without having to have anything turned in with it. Another update is that teachers have greater controls of comments. So if I go into my students, I see that right now students can post and comment. I can select students and I can change that for them. So now I can say they can only comment. If I look at this student, I can change that for them. So if I look at individual students, let's go back to first part of my class. Here's where a student made a comment. I can now also mute them if they're just causing lots of issues with that. I can always change that up. But when I'm in my students section, one thing I can easily do, I can mute a student if they're posting things that they're not supposed to before we have that discussion, about what's appropriate to post, what's not appropriate to post. But then I can also make so students can only comment, so they can't create posts. That's probably one feature a lot of people have, or that only the teacher can post or comment. I really like the comment feature because that allows you to easily create discussions with your students. Having them be able to post means that they can also start the discussions themselves. You can also export all grades. So when you are looking at grades, let's say I go to my assignments. If I click on this assignment, these are not real students, by the way. I can download all assignments. So I can download all my grades into a nice little CSV. So if I can import that somewhere, I have that available. And then the last thing is sort by first name or last name. You can see that anytime you see the students option here, you can select first name, last name. That is a nice little feature because it allows me to easily check that. And so those are pretty much all the updates that they made right now. One thing that if you delete something off the stream, this is actually not in the blog post, but I can actually show the deleted items. So if I delete somebody's comment, it goes away, but I can show it to myself. So if you see a student that made a very inappropriate comment, you can delete it so that people won't see it, but then you can always show it back for yourself so you can have that evidence if you need to have a discussion with them. And again, down here, send feedback. Make sure you're providing feedback to Google, but remember that this is designed to be lightweight and easy. They're probably not going to add a whole lot of stuff, and don't be asking for the moon, but what things make things easier to do things in the classroom. Focus on that.